KASM Radio, #1 Farm Radio.
Good morning here in central Minnesota. 22 degrees. Enjoy it, as I mentioned before, as we'll continuously get colder, or do I say cooler? We're going to get colder here as the next days, and especially the weekend, roll around. We'll get some local and statewide temps coming up here shortly this morning. Congressman Tom Emmer has a chance to join us from Washington, D.C. Mr. Emmer, how you doing on this Thursday morning?
Doing great, Joe.
Well, good to hear. Weather-wise, I know we were talking off the air. You're saying it's a little cooler, but not what Minnesota has in store for it.
No, I'm going to tell you, people in Washington, D.C., when they get a news report show that a storm is coming, they shut everything down. They're not like Minnesotans, believe me.
We have you on this weekend, this morning, and we appreciate your availability, but I know in recent days, I know Wanda Apache does a great job advocating for agriculture. She released a blog or an article earlier in the week. I shared it on our social media regarding capital gains and a possibility we might see with this new administration some changes that would negatively affect farmers and in rural communities, small businesses. Can you give us some insight? I know there's a lot of talk, but there's nothing official in place as far as changes. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's just Biden's plan. Which, and by the way, Wanda Apache, Joe, we've got to congratulate her and thank her for raising this kind of awareness. People who aren't familiar with her blog should be familiar with her blog because she does a great job of taking very complex issues and simplifying them so anyone can understand what's going on. I want to thank you too, Joe, because you, through your broadcasting skills, get this word out. And by the way, for anybody who doesn't know, Joe Gill needs to be congratulated because he's the next vice president, or maybe you're the current vice president of the National Association of Farm Broadcasters, Joe, and I just personally want to congratulate you for that. That's a big deal.
We were trying to keep that secret, Tom.
Well, we should have talked about that off the air. Sorry that I've outed you on that. But congratulations to you, Joe, because it's really important because of issues like this. Everyone out there in agriculture needs to understand that the new administration is planning to increase the capital gains tax to 39.6% from the current 23.8%. I mean, he wants to. You already knew that if you voted for Biden, so be it. If you didn't, it doesn't matter. You already knew that the incoming administration was interested in raising taxes. The problem is, to just boil this down to a nutshell, if you have farmland that you bought at a price 20 years ago, and I think Wanda uses the example, Joe, of $1,500 an acre, and 2 to 3 decades later, when the farm passes from farmer who passes away to the family, that land is now worth, I think her example was $8,000 an acre. Let's just say it's revalued at the $8,500 an acre is the value. Under the current law, your capital gains tax would only be on that $500, right? The difference between the increase over the years and the current value. Okay. Mm-hmm. Under the Biden plan, you wouldn't get the benefit of the basis being readjusted on transfer of the property. In other words, being readjusted from the original $1,500 to $8,000, you would literally be taxed on a capital gain of the difference between the $1,500 and the $8,500, which is dramatic in terms of the tax it would mean on farms. Joe, from our perspective, this is wrong. I think Wanda sent out the call and said people should be calling their men and women who represent them in Congress. For our part, as the representative of Minnesota's 6th Congressional District, we are actually working with the Biden administration right now because if they move forward with this, so be it. But I believe farmers need to be exempted. So if this is their plan for different investment situations, fine. But when it comes to farmers, I think the people in our ag communities need to be exempted from this type of onerous burden because you want to be able to pass these farms along, especially when you think about the fact that we have fewer and fewer farmers farming more and more land, and we can't afford to lose our food supply, Joe.
You know, when you look at that transition, too, I mean, really it is a suffocating situation if it would progress to that, because you got one, maybe a farmer going out, and that's part of their, retirement maybe to use those dollars to remain living. And then you got somebody coming in who, they may not have a nest egg to start out, and that whole transition, boy, this would hamper it. And I know you alluded to it, and would maybe possibly halt that next generation of farming.
Oh, Joe, it would be devastating. I mean, firsthand, because you and your family live this every day, but this is why Wanda was sounding this alarm. Farmers' assets are tied up in land, buildings, equipment, all kinds of things in order to do the business of farming. Under the Biden plan, farmers would either have to take out large loans or sell off land in order to pay the taxes that would be imposed. By the way, the Biden plan would also require immediate taxes on unrealized gains for farmers who pass away. So, look, I don't think this is what the administration intends. If this is all about politics, or policy, I should say, they're going to understand the politics. And the politics of our farms and our farmers, very important that if they move forward with a plan like this, that farmers are exempted from this plan.
Congressman Tom Emmer joining us this morning here on KASM Radio. What should the reaction of those listening, Tom, be right now? I know when I read it, my knee-jerk reaction is, wait, I'm ready to storm up the hill sort of situation. Let's get this figured out. But since nothing has officially been brought forward, is it more of, all right, take a breath? It may be coming, and now is the time to maybe kickstart the conversation. What do you recommend, Tom?
I agree with Wanda Patchy. In her blog, she calls out everybody and says, contact your representatives now. As you know, Joe, anything in life, you don't wait until it's too late to have your voice be heard. You need to be sounding this bell now. Call your members of Congress. If they don't understand what this issue is, tell them to contact our office. We're happy to sit down with them and bring them on board, because the more of us we can get to leverage the Biden administration, and by the way, it's a Democrat administration, but that doesn't mean that Republicans and Democrats together can't represent this farm interest and make sure that this administration is well aware of the damage they will cause to our ag industry by really causing a problem where you're not able to afford to continue the business of farming. That's literally what they're going to do. At a time when we're trying to attract new people, young people to the country, attract new people to the ag industry, this is absolutely the wrong policy to do that. So in answer to your question, Joe, now before this thing gets any momentum is the time to get involved and make sure you're making calls, writing letters, making sure that your representatives here in Washington, D.C. are well aware of the negative impact this kind of a policy could have on you and your families.
And finally, as you alluded to, when it comes to agriculture, I think it's been highlighted during this pandemic and, consolidation. We're kind of in a consolidated world or society where fewer make more, but in agriculture, I think we see putting all of our eggs in one basket isn't the best approach to have as we move ahead.
Amen to that, Joe. It's like our energy policy. It should be an all-of-the-above policy. And I see a day, if we do this right, where we can have both the large family farm operation as well as the smaller farms succeeding and working in the same environment. Obviously, you brought it up that we've had this consolidation impact. But as the new age of the Internet continues to grow, as we have rural broadband becoming more available and better, you're going to see this decentralization of services, and it's going to be easier, I believe, for people to live on the family farm, to stay in the home place for more years. And by the way, there's more and more people in these cities that have, frankly, gone in the wrong direction, that want to move out to the country and are interested in raising families and getting back to what makes this country great. So if we do the policies right, we can help stimulate that rebirth in rural America and greater Minnesota. And this kind of a policy, Joe, would have just the opposite effect. So we really have to be aware of this stuff. That's why, again, hats off to Wanda Patchy and you for making sure that people are aware of this issue.
Congressman Emmer, we appreciate your time. Thank you for your availability this morning, and we'll try and make it a more frequent conversation and talk about some of the issues concerning those here in central Minnesota and across the state here in the near future, okay?
I'd love it, Joe. Thanks, and stay healthy.
Hey, you too. Thanks again. Have a great day. Congressman Tom Emmer joining us here this morning here on KASM Radio. And yeah, I know Wanda had that story. I shared it on her Facebook page and got quite a few calls the next morning regarding that. So I thought, well, let's